All right, our next chapter in this cast drawing project is going to be about value ratios. Okay, now what is value ratios? It's actually very confusing for me to explain because I'll probably trip over my words. I'll do the best that I can. And this photo is not a good representation of what I'm going to explain for you. I might actually be better off doing it in life. So basically, value ratios are this. If you are drawing a white object, you're only going to use a certain amount of values for that white object. So if you're drawing, say, this white piece of paper, and look at the cast shadow under the pencil right now, that cast shadow that you see there is not black, okay? So maybe if you're going to render that cast shadow from the pencil, you're going to use value 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, and 5. 5 would be your darkest. Now, if you're going to render the pencil, which is black, take away the highlights, because it's a shiny object. We're talking about a matte surface, not a shiny surface. If you're going to render this pencil, okay, the value ratios that you're going to use are going to be a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 would be your lightest if it's just all matte surface, okay, not like a shiny chrome type surface or metal. Wood would be a great example. So if I just had like a pure middle tone piece of wood, then you would only use like 6 values. So it wouldn't be your darkest dark on a middle tone piece of wood, and it wouldn't be your lightest light. I would only use 6 values, like maybe say a value 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 for something that was middle tone. Okay. So now, why is this value ratio thing so important? It's because let's say, again, this is really tough for me because I know that my photography needs a whole lot of work, and I made this a little bit more contrasty, so we're dealing with an artificial environment inside this photography, and then you're also looking at the photography from a video camera, which is making it a little bit less detailed to add on top of that. So let's just take a section. Let's take over here, let's say the top plane over here is going to be our white value. We're drawing a white object, this cast. So then that's my shadow, and that shadow is not black. That shadow is probably like a number 6 value. At its darkest, maybe it would be like a 5. Now, I know what you're saying. You're looking at this and you're like, wait a second, Matt, that is really black right over here. That's almost like this value. The photography is not a true representation of life. In life, I've got the cast right up in front of me, in front of my easel, and I'm looking at it right now, and the shadow side of that cast in life is not that dark. It's definitely like that value. At its darkest, maybe, in some of the texture, is that value. So that's the value ratio. You just want to keep this in mind. Again, there's all different environments happening. There's shiny materials, there's materials that are wet, and then there's matte surface materials like clothing, like wood. Hair could be like matte surface. So it depends on the surface, and it depends on what type of light you have. Obviously, if I take this piece of white paper and I put it into a dark room, everything's going to be scaled down. So if you have like a white shirt, if you're illustrating a book cover and you've got a white shirt, and that white shirt is in moonlight, well then all the values are going to be skewed down. Okay, so I know that I'm using a lot of words right now to explain this, but let's come back in the next chapter, and I'm going to show you how I would do value ratios with a quick drawing with this little study right here.